Dr. Nix pressed her primary manipulation appendage against the quarantine chamber's viewing panel, watching helplessly as another Kethlani civilian succumbed to the plague that was devastating her homeworld. The bioluminescent patterns that normally danced across her species' translucent skin had dimmed to barely perceptible flickers, a sure sign that hope was fading along with her people. Status report, Doctor, requested Colony Administrator Velkos, his own bioluminescence betraying the exhaustion he tried to hide. The plague has now spread to 67% of the population, Nixthera replied, her voice carrying the weight of professional despair. Our medical facilities are completely overwhelmed. We've lost 3 more treatment centers overnight, and our pharmaceutical reserves are nearly depleted. The Kethlani had always prided themselves on their advanced medical knowledge. Their bioorganic technology had made them the galaxy's premier healers, capable of treating diseases that baffled other species. But this plague brought to their world by an infected trader from the Outer Rim was unlike anything in their databases. Any response to our medical assistance requests? Velkos asked, though both knew the answer would disappoint them. The Lyrian Medical Collective says they can send a research team in 4 weeks, Nixthera reported bitterly. The Zephyrian Union offers to share their database files. The Galactic Health Organization promises to monitor the situation closely. 4 weeks, Velkos repeated hollowly. Half our population will be dead by then. It was then that their communications array crackled with an unexpected transmission from a sector they'd never expected to hear from the Sol system. Kethlani Colony Command, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Medical Emergency Response Division, came a voice speaking in heavily accented but precise galactic standard. We've intercepted your medical assistance requests. What's your situation? Nixthera exchanged confused glances with Velkos. Terran Medical Division? She'd heard of the humans, the Deathworlders, who'd been making headlines across the galaxy for their military interventions, but she'd never heard of them having any medical expertise. Admiral Chen, she replied carefully. This is Dr. Nixthera, Chief Medical Officer. We're dealing with a unknown pathogen that's affecting 67% of our population. We need advanced medical research support, pharmaceutical production assistance, and emergency treatment facilities. Understood, Doctor. What's the mortality rate? 43% and climbing. Our bioorganic medical systems can't adapt fast enough to counter the pathogen's mutations. A brief pause. Copy that. Terran Medical Fleet is inbound. ETA 18 hours. Chen out. 18 hours later, Nixthera stood on the observation deck of the colony's medical center and watched in complete bewilderment as space tore open to disgorge what was unmistakably a human battle fleet. The lead vessel was a massive dreadnought, bristling with weapon systems and armor plating thick enough to withstand planetary bombardment. Behind it came heavy cruisers, destroyers, and ships that looked like they'd been designed for orbital assault operations. If this was a medical fleet, it was the most heavily armed one in galactic history. Dr. Nixthera, came Admiral Chen's voice over the communications array. This is the medical fleet you requested. Beginning deployment operations now. Admiral Nixthera replied hesitantly. I think there's been some misunderstanding. We requested medical aid, not warships. Doctor, these are our medical ships. Chen responded matter-of-factly. Where we come from, medical emergencies require the same level of resource commitment as military operations. What happened next redefined Nixthera's understanding of both medicine and logistics. The human dreadnought began extending massive docking structures that revealed its true nature. It was a mobile hospital complex the size of a small city. The weapons she'd identified were actually advanced particle beam medical scanners capable of analyzing biological samples at the molecular level. The armor plating protected internal biocontainment systems that could safely process the most dangerous pathogens in known space. Dr. Nix Thara came a new voice. This is Dr. Martinez, Chief Medical Officer aboard the TMS Hippocrates. We're deploying 17 mobile medical stations, 4 bio-research laboratories, and enough pharmaceutical production capacity to supply medicine for your entire planet. The destroyers weren't warships at all. They were rapid deployment medical vessels that began landing directly in population centers, their hulls opening to reveal complete emergency hospitals. The heavy cruisers were mobile pharmaceutical factories that immediately began producing broad-spectrum treatments based on biological samples the humans had somehow obtained during their approach. How did you analyze our plague so quickly? Nix Thara asked, as she watched human medical teams in full protective gear begin treating Kethlani patients with an efficiency that bordered on the miraculous. Dr. Martinez, came Chen's voice, why don't you explain our diagnostic protocol to Dr. Nix Thara? Dr. Martinez's response was casual, as if describing routine procedure. We maintain active scanning protocols for all known pathogens during approach to any medical emergency zone. By the time we achieved orbit, our AI systems had identified your plague as a variant of hemorrhagic fever virus, cross-referenced it with 17 similar outbreaks in our historical database, and synthesized appropriate treatments. You've encountered this before? Nix Thara asked with amazement. Not this exact strain, but Earth has a long history with hemorrhagic fevers. Ebola, Marburg, several engineered bioweapons from our pre-space wars. We learned early that medical emergencies require military-level response protocols. Within 6 hours of the human fleet's arrival, the plague's advance had been halted. Within 12 hours, recovery rates were exceeding infection rates. Within 24 hours, the humans had established permanent biomonitoring stations and begun training Kethlani medical personnel on advanced containment protocols. Admiral Chen, Nix Thara transmitted as she watched her people's bioluminescence returning to healthy patterns. Your medical response protocols. They're unlike anything we've ever seen. Why do you approach healing like warfare? Chen's reply carried the weight of hard-earned wisdom, Doctor. Where we come from, disease is just another enemy trying to kill your people. And when something tries to kill your people, you don't send a research team or share database files. You send everything you have, and you crush the threat completely. As the human medical fleet began establishing long-term research partnerships with Kethlani bioscientists, Nix Thara realized that her people had learned something profound about their galactic neighbors. They had expected medical aid, a few research vessels, some shared knowledge, perhaps emergency supplies. Instead, they had received an entire medical war machine operated by a species that treated saving lives with the same overwhelming force they applied to taking them.